Kreia hates the Jedi and the Sith, or at least that's a common stereotype that we often hear. But knowing Kreia, it isn't simply blind hate, and there are many reasons behind it. So I figured maybe I could make a list of Jedi whom I think Kreia would respect. Note that this is my personal list, and you may have different opinions about it, so feel free to tell me your thoughts as well. To get the ball rolling, of course, we can look at the traits to which Kreia appreciates in a person. What better way than to look at the two examples which are in her proudest students, Revan and the Jedi Exile. As a Force user who has been well versed with the doctrines of both Jedi and Sith, she feels contempt for those who adhere blindly to either side. A Jedi who would naively give out his life for anything, and a power-hungry Sith leading himself into destruction. Revan and the Jedi Exile were both out of the norm in this regard. They did not blindly follow the Council, choosing to protect the Republic and fight in the Mandalorian Wars. She found great interest in both their decisions after the wars as well. Why did Revan return as a Sith Lord to invade the Republic? And why did the Jedi Exile choose a life without the Force, even though she had such power? And these were the questions that she had found her own answers to, and they embodied her beliefs to the greatest degree. Their willingness to challenge the established norm, and their abilities to go beyond what is taught and not let anything hold them back from achieving their goals. To impact the galaxy at such a scale is something that she would respect in an individual. It comes as no surprise that Qui Gon will be on this list to a certain degree. We are familiar with his willingness to question and sometimes even defy the Jedi Council's decisions when he believed that they were not in line with the will of the Force. After all, many fans regard him as one of the first Grey Jedi in some aspects. Kreia would definitely appreciate his wisdom and knowledge in the Force and his unorthodox philosophy and way of life. This is in spite of their core beliefs on the Force being very different. But you know, an enemy is an enemy of my friend. Do I think that his belief in the prophecy of the Chosen One, aka Anakin Skywalker, would be met with disapproval and skepticism from her, as she may view it as placing too much trust on an individual who has barely proven himself, especially since Anakin was a child, and he has some questionable attributes. And number 2 on the list, we have to go to Ahsoka Tano. Initially a very playful young Padawan under the influence of Anakin Skywalker, Ahsoka Tano left the Order after being wrongly accused of a crime. That experience changed her view of the Order, and her journey apart from it, especially after Order 66, would have given her much more insight beyond the Jedi. Kreia would definitely be able to relate to her as a fellow exile, shunned just for being different. And also both of them would know that the Order is not infallible. They both had their time to think through and formulate their own learnings and beliefs, free from the classroom environment that is the Jedi Academy. It is kind of timely that I mention this though, since such themes that we Koto fans are familiar with is also kind of covered in the current Ahsoka series to a certain degree. Growing beyond your past wounds, not being indoctrinated, and learning to look beyond the lens of both Jedi and Sith is something that the series has done very greatly so far. Especially with the Night Sister magic stuff, and Baylan Skoll's philosophy, which brings me to him as the next Jedi. For all intents and purposes, Baylan Skoll isn't really a Jedi anymore since he's left an Order for a period of time. But I believe that Kreia and Baylan would definitely enjoy each other's company, since both have grown disillusioned with the Jedi Order as well. To some degree, they still have fond memories of it, especially when Baylan talked about his days in the temple, and when Kreia spoke of her days teaching Revan and other eager students. In many ways, they also still have a unique way and willingness to bring their own beliefs onto the galaxy. Baylan allies himself with Thrawn, in order that he may rebirth the galaxy in his own image, that he may end the cycle of war. Kreia wishes to kill the Force because it brings balance with so many lives lost, and both these goals are not some blind and bloodthirsty lust for power, but for some ideals that they hope the galaxy could achieve. Overall, with their similar past and their parallel ideologies, I believe that the two will get along just well. And diving into legends now, we have Luke Skywalker. Not that depressed dude that we got in The Last Jedi drinking blue milk, but Grandmaster Luke Skywalker, who became the ideal Jedi. The new Jedi Order he built was much more flexible and open-minded in their approach as compared to the old Jedi. Stuff like marriage and emotional attachments were not so frowned upon as they were in Anakin's time. They were allowed to even explore other aspects of the Force to a degree that would not have been welcomed in the old Jedi times. Luke's mastery of the Force and the fact that he has learned from the past mistakes of the Jedi who came before is one quality that Kreia would appreciate despite their core beliefs not being the same. But after all, Kreia is a very pragmatic person, and Luke's approach to building the Jedi Order was just as pragmatic. And on the topic of Luke Skywalker's new Jedi Order, we cannot forget to mention Katarn. After all, he isn't a conventional Jedi as well. A former Imperial cadet turned rebel operative, then later Battle Master of the Jedi Order. His journey is a unique one, and the fact that he has grown up all his life without hearing the Force would be a topic of interest for Kreia, since he has proven that he doesn't have to rely on his Force abilities to achieve great things. He is the one who single-handedly infiltrated and stole the Death Star plans. So he's able to do things without overly relying on the Force that so many Jedi and Sith have grown used to. He is also open to the idea of using alternate Force powers which border the dark side of the Force, a pragmatic approach that Kreia's belief will also align with. He's been to the dark side, and he's just a guy with a lightsaber and some questions, which would definitely gain Kreia's seal of approval. And while we are discussing Kreia, who is from Knights of the Old Republic 2, I cannot forget Jolee Bindo from Knights of the Old Republic 1. He's a severely underrated character and will often fly under the radar, but I believe he is to some degree on par with Kreia in terms of wisdom and knowledge. Like Kreia, he challenged the rigid thinking of the Jedi Council and valued freedom and choice of an individual. He doesn't simply look at the absolutes of light and dark in the Force, and in many ways, he is the Kreia of the first KOTOR game. His neutral stance on the Force, his troubled history with the Order, the fact that he has lived so much of his life as a hermit after the Great Sith Wars would be something that Kreia respects. After all, going into exile isn't an easy decision. Honestly, the only thing that Kreia would probably hate him for is his constant jokes and sarcasm. But you know, some people have a more jovial side, and Jolee Bindo is that chill grandpa that we need for life advice, while Kreia is that grumpy grandma that we just have to listen to. And I guess the last guy I'll put on the list is Kanan Jarrus, the last Padawan, losing his master during Order 66, going on the run, hiding his past as a Jedi, learning to overcome the fear he had, learning on the go how to properly train and raise as a preacher, losing his sight, then learning to see through the Force. Kanan Jarrus has been through a lot as well, and his perspective of life and the Force has changed drastically over the years as well. I think that Kreia will view his situation as for the better, because in many ways, he has gone through something similar to what the Jedi Exile has went through. This pain, loss, the absence of the Force, and he has grown stronger from it. Not many Jedi would lose their sight and be granted it one last time. Kanan is one of them, who has truly reached his full potential in a short period of time, and that is an achievement that will receive commendation from Kreia. So, who else do you think in the Star Wars universe Kreia would love and respect? Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.